Craig, I have some questions for you today.
I believe so.
Did you create Bitcoin?
Yes.
Why?
It actually goes way back into my past. I've been involved with monetary economics and everything for a long time. And before even the first bit I'll talk about, back in the 90s, in 2005, I enrolled with the University of Newcastle. I did a master's degree there. Part of why I chose that little out-of-the-way university was they had the Center for Monetary Economics. So the two of the people I learnt from while I was there, basically annoyed occasionally, were some of the founders of DigiCash and eCash. So they were academics who worked with David Shaum and helped develop the original aspects of cryptocurrency, helped launch Mark Twain Bank. And they were involved with that whole industry. So it might have been a little out-of-the-way university, but it was a little out-of-the-way university with some of the greatest people in cryptocurrency. And they ended up with this little out-of-the-way university because everyone had thought that cryptocurrency can't work. They'd given up on it. And part of why I saw why Bitcoin needed to be different, why cryptocurrency had always failed, when you get to a certain size, law enforcement starts to be active. You start introducing people who use crime and are getting away with it. If it's an illegal system, if it's facilitating crime, if it's anonymous, eventually you get a bigger and bigger user base of people breaking the law, and then it gets shut down. And people don't seem to understand. There's no, it's distributed, it keeps going stuff. Liberty Reserve had 30,000 different nodes with bank accounts globally. And there was a takedown that was done across over 70 countries with law enforcement officials from over 100 different departments involving takedowns of people all across the world. Places like Sierra Leone, places like Costa Rica, places where no American jurisdiction is involved at all, were all taken down. All the money was seized. And the $6 billion seized in Liberty Reserve is more valuable than Bitcoin and cryptocurrency right now. This market cap crap, the reality is that was $6 billion real dollars. $6 billion real dollars would push Bitcoin up to 50,000 a Bitcoin.
So you obviously were aware of prior attempts to
Yes.
create digital cash by other people. What lessons or things did you learn from that, and how did you apply them into Bitcoin?
I came to understand that money requires traceability. Fungibility is in law. It's not something that's native. To be fungible, you have to actually have something that is received for valid consideration. There are things like source of wealth laws. So if you have Bitcoin and you can't explain where it came from, in Britain, in America, it's actually able to be seized. Because if you haven't paid tax, you can't explain where it's from. The law actually exists today for them to seize it. Right now. So there's no, oh, I'm okay, it's Bitcoin. And you can trace everything. I'm sorry, but there are already cases taking down dark websites. So all this Tor stuff protecting me, Tor gives you no protection. I'm sorry.
So let's dig in a little bit. Approximately what year, what point in time did you really begin working on Bitcoin?
I started on a failed, totally stupid concept back in the 90s.
Okay.
And I also had the concept of a paid sort of network. And all of it was a total screw up, fuck up, and whatever else that wasted lots of money and got nowhere.
Okay. And then when did you get, I suppose, the idea that really led to what Bitcoin is?
That really came about after a bit of time with Newcastle and the other. So it was a combination of the guys at Newcastle. Also, at the same time, I shortly after that started a master's degree in law, where I studied international banking, financial law, etc., over at Northumbria. And then I started really understanding the history of money. Between that and the other aspect that sort of changed everything was in 2005, when I'm doing this, I had to get a real job because I don't know if everyone remembers, but there was a big crackdown on gambling. And I had a lot of involvement and a lot of clients in like Lassiter's and Playboy and whatever else that all shrank because the Americans stopped allowing SWIFT to be used globally. And even
you're
though,
talking about the passage of the UEJA statute in
Yeah.
the United States, right?
and that really made all those clients suddenly not able to spend money and not grow. And I was quite upset because these were licensed casinos. They were acting legally in the law, but they were still being squeezed out.
So you were working with them and then you had to get a real job. What real job did you get at this time?
I started with BDO. I became an auditor. So I developed CATS, which is computer-aided audit techniques. I wrote software as anti-fraud detection and software to basically complete audits faster.
And so you were working on Bitcoin, I assume, at night or on weekends, and this was a side project?
All of the above. I actually sort of tried to talk some of the people into some of my projects in BDO. I ended up having one of my partners, Alan Granger, was a director of some of my companies for a while. But I had approached the company and I wanted to bring this into BDO. I said it would be great for audit. And I tried to explain that we could, for a few servers, we could set this stuff up that I'd develop. And they said, what the fuck, we're auditors, go away.
So walk us through the process just generally that you went through. Like, did you start writing? Did you just start trying to figure out the components of a technical system? Did you code first? Just tell, how did you work through this?
It was a combination of things. So the first part was actually figuring out, well, it's a dynamic Stackelberg game. What you're going to start seeing as the fee now disappears, as the subsidy disappears, the reward will actually become variable in time. Basically, it's a linear sawtooth function that is Poisson distributed. Now, what people don't understand there is because you get a low fee at the beginning of block discovery, and as it goes on, you get a higher fee, that's actually going to create a scenario that settles the time closer and closer to 10 minutes. Because if you think about it, someone's just discovered a block. That means they're not going to get many fees in the next block. So they'll turn hashing down and save power. Then as fees grow, they'll start turning hashing up. If it goes past 10 minutes, suddenly it's a big payment, and everyone, even those who aren't economical when they're thinking about mining, will start chucking in. But this only happens as the subsidy disappears. And the subsidy was thought of, like, because I did a bit of economics and whatever else, as similar to situations like South Korea. And you build nascent industries, but how do you get rid of the subsidy? So you just algorithmically get rid of the subsidy. You don't explain, hey, we're going to build you an ecosystem and then turn it away. We're just going to make the game set in the beginning.
What was the hardest thing or things for you to figure out?
Some of this actually changed right until October. So the fee reward and other aspects there were only finally decided in October 2008.
2008, right before the white paper was posted online?
Fairly much, yes.
Okay. So there have been other names associated with possible work on Bitcoin. Did you have help?
Everyone has help.
Okay.
But Was someone else Satoshi? No. Dave, I wouldn't be sane and whatever else without him.
You're talking about Dave Kleiman.
Yes. Hal Finney, the code wouldn't have kept going. It actually fell over in January 2009 several times before we found bugs. So if Hal hadn't jumped in, it would have never launched.
Okay. Anyone else?
Lots of other people gave me critique. Mike Hearn, Gavin, even Zuku, even people like Blue Matt. All these people, without their help, they just wouldn't have.
Did you give drafts of the white paper to other people to review and critique?
Yes.
Okay. Many people or just a few?
More than one, less than 20.
Okay.
So there were a number. Plus, I put it up on a site, upload.ae, which was actually run out of Instra in Melbourne. Luckily, that got taken down and whatever else, but Instra was running upload.ae out of Melbourne in August 2008. So we moved everything.
Did you write the white paper?
Yes.
How long did it take you?
It was a mess that got changed so many times, and there's so many iterations of it. There's lots of similar ones. It goes back years, but it also was a complete different product years ago. I actually had the concept of giving shares out to miners at one stage, but that doesn't work.
But you gave drafts of the white paper to people for review and critique?
Yes, I have.
Let's talk about the client software, version 0.1. Who wrote the code?
Most of it came from me. When I contacted Wei, he gave me a lot of cryptographic code. And
How did you contact Wei?
Email.
Only by email?
I don't think there was any other way with Wei. I'm pretty sure there wasn't.
All right. Did anyone else help you with the code?
Oh, of course. Bits were sent out in the early days. People reviewed it, people critiqued it, people said it sucked, people said it won't scale. James Donald sat there going, government will take it over.
How did you get Hal Finney and Dave Kleiman involved in helping you with this project?
Dave I'd known years, so Dave was my best friend for a long time. Hal and others, I was told by the guys at University of Newcastle. I mean, I asked, where should I send this? And I didn't say where do I send Bitcoin, but I mean, I was saying if I'm looking for information on cryptocurrencies and creating coins, where do I go? And their first comment was, don't bother, it's not worth it. And the next bit was, but you go to the peer-to-peer foundation, you go to the cryptography mailing list, and you send it out to these.
So let's talk about the name Satoshi Nakamoto. Did you choose that?
Yes.
Well, why Satoshi Nakamoto?
Well, Nakamoto was the main bit. Nakamoto comes to Tomasu Nakamoto. He was in the sort of the restoration period, Japan, as really, it was isolating itself and restricting. So around, but a little bit earlier than Adam Smith, he came up with a whole lot of concepts that are very similar. And he wrote, a lot of his works have been lost now, but he wrote about economics and the need to trade. And he wrote this as the shogunate was restricting and locking Japan in. And he becomes the forgotten sort of other side of the coin to Adam Smith. Adam Smith was in a country that was opening up and allowing trade and flourishing, as this other guy doing the same thing was in a country that was restricting, as government was clamping down, as he ended up being killed because of the ideas of free trade that he was promoting.
Why did you choose to use a pseudonym as opposed